What's next for a neighborhood under siege? We'll have to wait and see. Reporting live, Sadie Sinclair, Channel 7 News.
The U.S. has to go. And one of the reasons is because of the way that we treat immigrants. One of the most grotesque and growing stains on U.S. history is happening currently, a bipartisan effort to criminalize immigrants, a white supremacist effort that we have the local mayor in San Francisco, we have the police complicit. And it's all about moving more money into these rotting industries filled with rotting people like the prison industry. It's also about to get worse thanks to our government, again, who is trying to move billions of dollars into the ICE system. However, I've been alive longer than ICE, and I believe that I will outlive ICE. I'm talking to three people who have been showing up to the court support for people outside of 100 Montgomery, where the ICE court is in San Francisco, to try to support people who are going in to get papers or what have you, so they don't get abducted, separated from family and friends and community, and wind up in a system where more and more people are actually dying, getting sent to El Salvador, South Sudan. Angelica, Cebollito, and Leah are going to talk about what's been happening at 100 Montgomery and how people can get involved. If you have never organized before, here's a chance for you to start. Angelica was abducted and held, detained temporarily in August. So she's going to talk a bit about that. Grateful to everyone who is organizing, trying to push back against the white supremacist state right now. And also, thank you to Kara for donating at patreon.com/San Francisco, helping me pay some bills and get the podcast and some of the videos edited. Been out there a few times. Maybe see you out at 100 Montgomery sometime soon. Cool. Yeah. Thank you again for coming together to speak on, something that has been going on since at least June, on like a ramped up level, but obviously has been going on for much longer than that. And I was hoping we could start by, if you'd be down to intro yourself and how you got involved with the anti-ICE actions that have been happening autonomously, and every week, a few times a week now since June.
Yeah, my name is Angelica. I use she, her pronouns. I was born in San Francisco and raised all around the Bay Area, like most of us native Baydestrians. We don't stay for very long in any one city or any one neighborhood because things are expensive. But I've been involved in community organizing and radical politics for many years. But personally, immigration and deportation and resistance to ICE has been close to me as somebody who comes from an immigrant family. And it's actually what really first politicized me as a young person. When I was 16, the 2006 Day Without a Mexican is what we called it, happened where I was living in Concord, and my family were just out at the park on a Sunday. We weren't super politically involved people other than like just being part of unions. And so we had no idea that this march was going to happen where we were living. And all of a sudden, just thousands of people, at the time, mostly Mexicans, took the streets, and we joined them. And I was asked to speak as just a young person. And so I stepped up on the stage and spoke about what we were experiencing. The type of harassment that we got from just cops day to day as people who were visibly, as people who looked illegal, right? And when ICE started increasing their brutality and their abductions under this administration, I wanted to be part of defending my communities. And we realized that if ICE was going to keep showing up at the courthouse, that was the place to confront them, right? As part of a longer strategy of developing the type of mass response to ICE in our communities, but also to what I've experienced my entire life, right? Even though ICE is doing this now under the fascist regime of Trump, this is not new, right? The 2006 Day Without a Mexican happened because people have always been resisting the state and have always been resisting um, what for a lot of us has always looked like fascism. So, right now, the people who are organizing at the courthouse represent a lot of different communities. Some folks who I'm sure have backgrounds and experiences like myself. And then a lot of folks who are coming from interfaith groups, um, folks who are involved in different socialist organizations like SFDSA or PSL or any other number of community and political organizations, and then even just some people who just happen to be passing by, right? Who just got plugged in, who are outraged by what's happening, and who have been radicalized by this moment. Um, and I think that we are able to do this autonomously because there is so much awareness around what is happening to our communities right now. But this has been a good moment to educate people that this is not isolated to this moment, that we have always been here and we will continue to be here after Trump is gone, and that the struggles we face as working people, as people with different levels of documentation, different types of documentation, are going to continue. And we need to build now to resist the oppression that we have faced for my entire life.
Yeah, I mean there was like this anti-ice moment that was happening in like 2018 ish, and people going down to Sansome, Montgomery, and then there was like all of a sudden there was less action, less awareness going on. So I'm happy to see, like, unfortunately it's the result of intensified like raids, of course, but happy to see more people like continuously resisting, and also like some new people coming into the fold to um, also struggle against the state. Um, Leah, would you be down to intro yourself? You've been on the program before, but welcome back.
Yeah, I'm Leah McGeever. I am a San Francisco, like downtown D6 resident. I do activism, advocacy, kind of like watchdog government stuff for the past few years regarding like homelessness, people with substance use disorder, and how our government is abusing and terrorizing them. As well as trans rights and how our government, in my opinion, abusing us as well, even though we're a transgender sanctuary city and a transgender sanctuary state. So what brought me to 100 Montgomery was in June. I think it was June 10th. This like call got put out. I don't even remember if it was social media or somewhere else. Like ICE, is in San Francisco at 100 Montgomery, like come to protest or stop or something. And I had already seen in SoCal, that starting to happen, like so publicly, so violently, so like battle against the government and people on the street. And so I was like, oh, that's happening here. Let me let me go see. Let me see it with my own eyes. And I did, and I saw the person that was abducted. I saw the kind of like shock in their eyes. I saw the ICE agents and their, you know, protection or whatever other agents they have with them, supposedly, like wearing their masks and their plain clothes, you know, and their beat up Dodge Caravans or whatever, literally abduct someone there. So that right away, it's just like, no,
Yeah.
no, no, just no. So I've been showing up ever since that day.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Cebollito, we met the first time that I came out to 100 Montgomery in, I guess it was like probably July. But yeah, good to connect again. Would you, want to say a little bit how you got involved?
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, and also documenting about this in this time. I heard about it. I heard about the court presences just on social media, and then also through some of my neighbors and community that have been involved. And then started coming out and being a part of it. But yeah, it's great. You know, we've been out there since July, if not before, and it's been great seeing all the people come out from all over the place. You know, neighbors, people that hear about it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, I've been out there. I'm Civilian, and I usually them.
Cool. And Angelica, super sorry to hear about what happened to you just a few weeks ago, where you were actually abducted. And was wondering if you could speak a little bit about what went down there and how things are with your case, as much as you can, say publicly.
Yeah, I was part of a response to an active abduction that was happening at 100 Montgomery. I woke up 9 a.m. My partner wakes me up to let me know that the ICE is at 100 Montgomery and they are getting ready to kidnap somebody. So I got over there as soon as possible. From the moment I stepped off BART, I stepped into a really chaotic scene. People had already been pepper sprayed. ICE had pepper sprayed people on the way into the building, and in the process of doing so, had apparently pepper sprayed each other. Though they're reporting that we pepper sprayed them, which I know is just absolute bullshit, because we've learned from years past that pepper spray gets messy. And so generally we don't really carry pepper spray. At least not at the courthouse, not for this.
Yeah, and in fact, as she mentioned, sorry to interrupt.
Good.
The reason why it was like the SFPD was the ones that were saying like, "Hey, ICE has been pepper sprayed by protesters," and we'll talk about that later. But it's really clear that SFPD is like colluding with ICE in this way and being
Absolutely.
like, "We need backup. ICE is getting hurt." It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
We've identified audio, we have audio evidence from SFPD's radios that ICE called them for backup and lied that they were being assaulted. They came into 100 Montgomery ready to hurt people and immediately deployed pepper spray. So the moment I stepped out, they were out, baton swinging, pepper spray, and I just tried to get people to focus on the fact that they were moving somebody into the van. That van was getting ready to pull down the street, right? And who knows why they identified me as somebody they wanted to go after. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm brown. Maybe it's the fact that I was trying to get people to take action, right? To organize resistance. They're charging me. They've accused me. My official charges are federal misdemeanors, assault on a federal agent, and destruction of property. Though I'm skeptical that they're going to be able to find any evidence of that. So I feel pretty good about my ability to resist those charges. That said, we're in a moment where resistance by any means necessary needs to happen. So if anybody does need to take any measures to resist the abduction of our community members, I stand with them. After being arrested, I got an inside personal look at what I've been hearing about, both from members of my community and also from outlets like Mission Local, that they are running a shit show and do not know what to do with all of the people that they're abducting. 630 Sansom, we've heard for a while now, has been turned into a de facto detention center. And they didn't even have a place to put me. They kept me in the garage for like 6 hours, half of which I was just still
Wow.
covered in pepper spray. I was
Damn.
chained hand and foot into a wheelchair that I think they just had laying around in the garage. It looks like it's from the 70s. They had ICE agents standing around me to keep guard because they're afraid I'm going to do something. And then they switched to DHS agents. So at any given moment, I had multiple federal agents just standing guard around me while they tried to figure out whose responsibility it was. Because what I learned is that ICE, as Trump's personal paramilitary, has just been allowed license to go into communities, do whatever they want, and all of the other federal and state agencies have to clean up their mess. So actually, while I was sitting there, blinded because I was still covered in pepper spray, I actually overheard these federal agents talking to each other about how pissed off they were that they had to deal with this, because ICE are just big babies that all the other agencies have to take care of, essentially. So you had these Department of Homeland Security operator looking kind of guys, you know, muscular dudes strapped with Glocks, who I'm sure joined the Department of Homeland Security because they had some kind of fantasies of being counterterrorism, super special forces,
Yeah.
sitting around me and spending all day just driving me around from one jail to a hospital to another. And it was comical in a way, until, you know, I ran into situations where, like, for example, as I was sitting there, they would bring in somebody who had just been abducted, who was begging and pleading to be allowed to contact a lawyer, to contact his family. I reached out to him. I said, you know, don't say anything, don't sign anything. And the agents who were bringing this poor man in just laughed at us. They just laughed at him. And I said, you know, don't tell him anything, don't sign anything. Hopefully you can get in touch with whoever you need to get in touch with. And they humiliated him. And they said, they pointed over to me, shackled into the wheelchair, and they said, oh yeah, that's your lawyer. So what I experienced is what is happening daily. Last I heard, there was 1,800 people who are actively who are going through the deportation proceedings in the country. But who knows? The number could be much bigger. Yeah, I could have very easily fallen through the cracks, as many people have. And I want to reiterate that even though people are paying attention to this now, this has been the situation. ICE under the Biden administration was being given more license.
Right.
The judicial system to handle immigration cases was being stripped. I mean, they took me to Santa Rita jail, despite Santa Rita not putting me through the proper procedures of booking. Like, I was never given contact to a lawyer or anything. And Santa Rita is an institution where people get forgotten regularly, right? There have been people who have been left at Santa Rita without charges for weeks and months. And so right now, ICE, as this paramilitary with no accountability, is already being shoved into a carceral system that was already disappearing people. And
Yeah.
nobody is standing up to them, because even though these DHS agents were complaining about how unprofessional and goofy these ICE agents were, they're still going along with it. Even though our local politicians are talking about how ICE needs to be held accountable, they're not doing anything to do that. And so
Right.
we're in a situation where, just like every fascist takeover of any kind of seemingly liberal state society, the fascists do what they want, and anybody who doesn't actively resist them just becomes a bystander and therefore becomes complicit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in California, like, we had done away with contracts with like private, prison corporations, except in like one of the biggest exception was detention centers. Like this
Yeah,
entire time
right.
for years, like we have like unraveled the state from these private prison corporations like Geo Group, which is now opening up like a previously closed prison to abduct and hold people for who knows how long in California City. So yeah, thanks for letting people know about what went down recently, and of course, like we'll like check in with you if like there's a need for court support for your specific case. Please like let us know. Um, uh, and
Yeah, yes, please, and also
yep,
support other comrades who have been arrested by ICE. Leah, do you know if it's okay if I name?
I don't think so. I
Okay,
don't
cool,
think.
great.
okay.
There are other comrades who've been arrested by ICE, and we need to support them too. um, yeah, and definitely, yeah, I will definitely love the support, and I have a lot of community support, and also it's important for people to know that this is happening to people. Like my
Yeah,
case is not that special. The only difference is that I have the blue passport, and I have a lot of community support, and there are a lot of people who are just getting disappeared.
yeah. I mean, you mentioned the 1,800 people at like a single moment being like sort of having to go through this like very like system that not a lot of us know a lot about, that's just being like constructed in some cases like with alligator Alcatraz in the past couple months. um, but yeah, I don't know if any of you could kind of talk about like where, so we know like people are being held in makeshift in a garage, for example, around town. Where are people being taken?
Stanford Hospital, for one.
Right, there was a like gathering there recently. Stanford Hospital. What do you know about what's happening there?
Leah, would you want to speak to that, or?
I mean, you have the personal experience there. I've heard that, yeah, people who are abducted by ICE, are being taken to Stanford to have their medical checks done. And I believe someone was actually just abducted from there as well, but I'm not clear on those details.
Yeah, Aleida Rodriguez, who is a mother, was recently taken there and was abducted with the full cooperation of Stanford Hospital Administration, despite the fact that there are many Stanford medical workers who object to this and are organizing to resist this. I was taken to Stanford Hospital because I don't know, they're trying to fill in the holes of. They're trying to at least appear that the law matters in some ways.
Mm.
And in order to have me do a courtesy stay at Santa Rita Jail, they needed me to get a medical check. Um, so yeah, I'm Aleda. I'm not exactly sure why she was held at Santa Rita for so long, but I know that she was very ill, or in Sanford's for so long, but I know that she was very ill, and she was just a couple days ago taken from Stanford Hospital despite her illness and taken to Mesa Verde Detention Center, where I'm sure they do not have any kind of adequate medical facilities.
And so that's like all the way in Colorado.
No, Mesa Verde is outside of Stockton, I believe.
Okay, not bad. Of course, there's more than one Mesa Verde. But okay, yeah. So I mean, people are being totally disconnected from family support.
Yeah,
Um,
something with Stanford, I'd also like to add, like, yeah, they're being very fucked up, allowing ICE to do this at their hospital. But Stanford's also being fucked up as far as stopping trans care for minors
Right.
and the federal crackdown. It's not the law here in California that you have to stop providing transgender care for youth. They're just doing that on their own. And also with Stanford, they're going to continue legacy admissions, even though that was stopped. And they are withdrawing from Cal grants, which serve poor people and usually, black and brown people. So like Stanford is just being all around fucked up right now under this administration. And I I would protest them for many, many reasons right now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, any of these contractors are ones to remember to keep on a list somewhere. I mean, I know Avelo Airlines was like one of the airlines that has been contracting with ICE to transport people after they're abducted. And yeah, I know that there are going to be lots of names of businesses and people that we're going to want to keep tabs on for years after this is over. For people who have not been to 100 Montgomery and 630 Sansome, I was wondering, like maybe Sabine, would you be down to like discuss what it looks like to show up to, provide support to people that are coming through to the courthouse?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I've been showing up to the courthouse like every week, a couple times a week. We have presences there every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, which is awesome. We started off doing Tuesdays, and then now it's expanded to some of the other days. And why is that? Because when we're there, ICE stops showing up. I think it's really important that that folks know that like when we're out there protesting, it's like incredibly effective, because the abductions go down from like something like 4 a day at 100 Montgomery to 0 or 1. And the ones that you hear about, the few ones that do happen at 100 Montgomery, they turn into the confrontations, like the one 2 Wednesdays ago or the one on July 8th. So yeah, there was a reporter earlier today that I was talking to who was like, "Oh, how do you know? Like, do you have a tracker for like when there are confrontations, or sorry, when there are like people being abducted, like while you're here at 100 Montgomery? Like, what are you keeping a log or anything?" And I was like, "Well, it's pretty clear because there's almost none, and when they are here, there's a huge confrontation. So you'll see it in the media." Um,
Right.
and so yeah, it's like I think that's a powerful thing about it that keeps people coming out, and that new people are really excited about. That it is like really successful, and ICE changes their tactics and comes on different days, and then we show up on different days, and then they stop showing up on those days. It's like a really powerful, like victorious way to get involved. And so many of the new people I talk to are like, "Oh wow, this is great! Like I heard about this, and like now I can finally do something more than just like get on my phone in the morning, see the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, and then go to fucking work. Like I can actually be a part of this and talk to other people who feel the same way." And it's really effective. So yeah, it's sick. We're out here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 at 100 Montgomery, and there's new people every single day. So yeah, it's pretty sick to be out here.
Yeah, and like there's people that are like pretty welcoming as far as like explaining some of the basics, like staying somewhat safe, if you're like new to this kind of like organizing. Maybe like Leah, would you be down to kind of detail like any pointers for people who are just showing up for the first time? Like I think now is a time like uh, uh there's always these like movements that come along that people are getting politicized for the first time. I think this is
Definitely.
certainly one of them.
Yeah. So something I tell people that are curious or they're thinking about showing up for the first time And maybe they've only heard about the violent confrontations, between protesters and ICE, and are like a little scared or terrified, understandably so, about that. Is one, you don't have to do that at all, and that's very rare that that happens. What usually happens is people are just standing out on the sidewalk, holding up a protest sign, handing out flyers, playing music, dancing, doing chalk art. Sometimes we have speeches. There's now like teach-ins happening, skill
Right.
shares. Like, it's a very chill to uplifting to like fun vibe. Food gets donated, coffee gets donated, so people are also just kind of just snacking and hanging out too, because it really is our community presence, just us being there,
Yeah.
is the effective part. That is the powerful parts. Watching ICE, they want to do this in secret. They don't want spotlights on them. They don't want witnesses. So when the community comes together to actually witness ICE doing this, well, that also activates the community. When you see people, mothers and fathers, and just all these little kids, sometimes just like walking into the immigration court, and then you like, oh my god, like when I saw this, like I hope they don't get abducted. Like, oh my god, this is so fucked up. Like, seeing the people that are the targets, and then when you see them leave, like the way it's supposed to be happening, everything's fine, and it's because like we're standing there just holding community like presence there. Like, that is very gratifying to know that you're a part of the reason why these people were not abducted that day.
Yeah.
And so for anyone, interested in showing up, that's usually the chill vibe. And we do get like thanks from people passing by. We get thank yous from the immigration lawyers. We get thank yous from like people driving delivery trucks, and just from their vehicles or bicycles, walking by. So like the community is also watching us and appreciative of us and supporting us in the ways that they can. So like, if you can come out, just to hang out on a sidewalk, really, if you find anything entertaining you want to do, like we had some clowns out there literally this
Oh,
week.
right. Yeah, I saw
Clowns are
some pictures.
so funny. They're the best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can go
please.
do homework. Like I was just like writing. I had to like do some writing project stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, literally like you can go down. It's nothing is necessarily required other than like, bodies are needed.
Yeah.
And like you said, Leah, like I was a little bit concerned what in this area that is known as the financial district, how people would respond, bystanders and stuff. But I was like pleasantly surprised. People were like, honking. The vibe was definitely positive from
Yeah.
onlookers.
The honking is great, and also you can hear the honking literally from like the courtrooms and the waiting rooms when you're
Right
inside,
on. Right on.
which is so sick. Like, there's some of us that are learning and like helping people like even go like inside to their hearings, doing accompaniment and stuff, which is
Right.
really powerful. And in the past, there's been judges that have been like, hey, like, is there like just for curiosity, like, are you guys outside today? I didn't hear much honking today. And then it's like, yeah, and like there's like, yeah, I don't know, everyone on inside can hear it. It's really powerful because it's like even on the inside, that very intimidating space that immigrants have to go through, still being able to hear the support from the outside, like in that way, from the general public of SF, is like super powerful. Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, and then when an abduction does happen, like the people who want to do more, as far as like putting their bodies, out on the line to protect immigrants, to protect these people, like those people will do that. No one is asking or demanding that from anybody who shows up. That's part of the autonomous part. You have the free will to choose how you will protest.
Right.
So I just always emphasize that as well. Like, these are all people protesting, throwing their bodies, in front of ICE vans and stuff to try to stop this abduction, like doing it out of their own free will and volition, not because they were pressured to or anything like that.
Yeah. And there's different ways that you can kind of get in where you fit in. Like you can pass out like information to people who are going by. Like you said, so there are some people actually accompanying people inside to the courtrooms. I believe that there's like trainings happening occasionally for like how to, be an effective like sort of court attendant. And we'll find some information to like lead people if that's of interest. Put that in the show notes. Like a less positive reaction, I think, has been the one that has been the response from local politicians, which in some cases feels like the response is exceedingly silent to the point where it's like, yeah, this is complicity. Would anyone be down to like kind of address like what the response has been from local politicians?
I mean, Jackie Fielder has been really supportive when I was arrested. She was her staff were in contact with my partner, who was helping to make sure that ICE didn't just disappear me. So shout out to her. Dean Preston has actually been out there, I think last Friday. So that's great. Any support that we can get from local politicians is great, because the rest of these bastards are not doing a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Daniel Lurie has literally been, passing by while ICE arrests have been taking place, and did nothing. I think Leah I got that on film.
Yes. Yeah. I confronted Daniel Lurie when I was at 630 Sansom on my way because an abduction had happened in Concord. And so it was believed the abductee was being taken to 630 Sansom because that's where processing is done for like the SF Bay area when ICE takes someone. And I recognized that Rivian that he bought himself, that he donated to himself. And I was like, wait, he's across the street from 630 Sansom. Is the fucking mayor here?
Yeah.
So I recorded my confrontation, asking him what he was going to do about these ICE abductions. If he was going to come over, cross the streets, like, can you cross the streets and support us? Whether it's the immigrants who are waiting in line out on a sidewalk or the protesters that are there to like protect them. Don't worry, he is in touch with the Rapid Response Network, which didn't Mission Local just expose how he like basically defunded it this year? So don't worry, everyone. He's in touch with the Rapid Response Network that he defunded. There you go.
Yeah. So, oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No worries. I think something that I'll add, and that it's kind of like the vibe, like amongst all the people that show up. Like I was saying, like a ton of people show up from all over the place. And they all have some super different backgrounds and reasons why they're here, which is so cool to see. But I think something that people are starting to understand, and the people that show up especially, is that we're really only gonna save ourselves. Like it's gonna be the neighbors that really like show up for the immigrants and are defending them in this way that we're able to do so successfully here at court. And that's something that we say every so often, and like I mentioned, which is when you say solo el pueblo salva el pueblo, which means only the people will save the people. And that's what it's going to take. Our politicians have failed us in so many ways. Like even like near the near the beginning, there was the deputy sheriff was like, I can't stand by and watch our fellow law enforcement agent or officers get hurt. That was literally the
Right.
SF deputy chief, like after the July 8th confrontation.
Right. Solidarity with ICE, basically.
Yeah, which is crazy. And even earlier, like on the show, we were talking about how like on the Wednesday confrontation, like there was literal evidence of SFPD on radio being like, we need backup because ICE agents are getting pepper sprayed. Like, and when reporters have been like asking them like, hey, what is this? They're like, oh, we can't talk about that. So it's like very obvious that they're like colluding in this way. Like,
Yeah.
and the supervisors, the board of supervisors did like vote for a resolution that asked them to like come up with a plan to like respond and stuff. But what we see on the ground has just been like them standing by and being off to the side while we get brutalized.
Right.
And they just stand by and watch. And then they even like actively like pull people off the streets, because maybe that in their eyes is like, oh, now it's in like obstruction of traffic or something, so now we can actually intervene and like pull them off. But they're never actually helping the people of San Francisco that theoretically, if you still even believe in the police, they're supposed to do.
Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's been like.
Yeah. I mean, this
Can I add
is
one more thing?
yeah, for sure.
wait, people need to know.
Yeah.
No, yeah, just one more thing with the July 8th, that's when all the SFPD were just standing around while ICE was violently abducting people and like, fighting, beating up protesters and shit. And so, I filmed SFPD's response because it's like, what is going on here? Like, what is the reality here? Like, what is the truth here? Because we hear like sanctuary city and people have
Right.
different ideas, but legally maybe it just doesn't mean anything. Or, it's like really like we really need to know, the people need to know, what is the setup here? Are we safe or not? And in my opinion, being out there on the streets, seeing these confrontations and being, like pushed around and shit by ICE and SFPD and stuff. It's like, in my opinion, we are not safe. They are not here to protect us. They are here to protect the government. They are here to protect the property. The government is doing this. The government is abducting people.
Right.
That's who, in my opinion, SFPD are here to protect. I was literally between a ICE or federal agent that pulled up in an unmarked car, whipped out whatever assault rifle, and then right behind me is SFPD watching it. I was between SFPD and a man with a gun, and they're like, "We're here to ensure your safety." And I was like, "This is safety?"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, meanwhile, they're getting so much in overtime to arrest people, which, by the way, I made a note, like, I don't know the extent to which this was true, but it is true that SFPD arrested a lot more people than even LAPD did. LA is a much bigger city. The uprisings there that we've seen in the last couple months, just bigger in number because LA is a much bigger city. And like, I think it was Jackie Fielder who requested, like, let's look at how much from these 2 days of uprisings here earlier this summer that the SFPD, how much did it cost for the SFPD to arrest over 100 people who were protesting ICE's presence here? And I mean, it was $350,000 just for those 2 days. It's good business, I guess, for the cops to be, gives them something to do. And like, we've heard, it's like very clear that they are like, the cops are the cops, regardless of the like 3 or 4 letter agency that they're representing. Any word from anyone in LA that you've heard from? I know that there's like similarly, like, people are showing up to courthouses down there. You see a little bit of it like on social media. Wondering if y'all have any comrades down there that you've heard from.
I don't think there has been as much happening in court. I mean, people have been showing up to courthouses for sure, but I think one of the big reasons why ICE has focused on courthouses here is because they're not doing the type of neighborhood raids that they're doing in LA. In LA, they're making both. Their original strategy was that it would be, I guess, easier to abduct people from neighborhoods in LA, but also as a political show of force, being able to terrorize people by running up into a restaurant or a Home Depot in Los Angeles, the city of Latin American immigration. I think has always been the strategy. Whereas here, because they don't have both the same facilities that they do in Los Angeles, and because there is, I think, concern about ruffling wealthy liberal feathers in San Francisco, they've gone the path of targeting people at the courthouse, expecting that it would not be a fight for them. And we've made it a fight for them. All that said, I think that's about to change. I think that in October, when they get the funding that they've been allocated, the billions, we're going to see a big change.
Yeah.
This is like what you're referencing, the funding. Like, I think it's going to become like the biggest domestic,
Yep.
Policing organization
Yeah.
we have here, ICE. Hundreds of billions of dollars going to terrorize people in cities across the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's, I remember when the like, the numbers came out, it was like 10 times the budget and stuff. And I was telling people like, okay, well, 10 times the budget, like that just means like we have to get 10 times the amount of people that are showing up.
Yeah.
When we have enough people here at court, and right now, right, there's a very limited number of ICE officers, and also whenever they do show up, if they're not too scared, they're super disorganized, and it's like super sloppy. I
Yeah.
could see that with enough people, there's so much more that we can do, and there's so many more new ways that we can defend people and do it in like a really safe way for everyone involved. Um, yeah, with numbers brings safety, and so that's why it's like, when that new budget comes into effect, as Angelica was talking about, that'll be the moment when all the people that do support us are honking their car horns, are passing by and saying thank you for being here. Everybody, it's going to be the moment for everybody to come out and just be a part of it, and take
Yeah.
the time, and that's what it's going to take. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of opportunity for it. There's a lot of desire for people to look. The thing I've believed for a long time that explains why, like, everybody has an angry political opinion, right, on all sides of the political spectrum. Everybody's pissed off right now, but consistently we have like the lowest voter turnout of any, like, quote unquote developed country in the world, right? And it's because people have accurately identified that the left and right wings of the capitalist class, the Democrats and Republicans, don't actually present any kind of political platform for us to have any kind of change, whether it's towards more fascist interests or more revolutionary ones. That it's all just kind of a big soup of nothing and of performance. And moments like our confrontations with ICE agents outside of 100 Montgomery have shown me that actually people are politicized and want to do something that feels like they can impact their world, right?
Yeah.
When ICE arrested me, during that, random commuters, people driving down the street, were positioning their cars in the way to try to slow down the ICE van. The Muni bus stopped because they didn't want to cross the picket line of people who were stopping the ICE van. People know what time it is, and they know that they have an opportunity to do the right thing. They just need to be organized to be able to have that opportunity. And this ICE budget increasing is definitely going to make a lot more opportunities for people to pick the right side. So, like, what we're doing at 100 Montgomery can be just as easily done, probably in some ways easier, at places like Home Depot, right? If they want to come up and drive up in a rented truck to snatch people like they've done in Los Angeles, I mean, we can be ready for that.
Yeah.
We just need to get it done.
Yeah. Now is a excellent time, like, in lieu of our votes really mattering much, because again, these abductions were happening in like larger number under a Democratic president. So we know that the problem it's contained within our current government. It seems like I mean, if you have not been out in the streets organizing before, why, like, this is the perfect opportunity to like start getting connected up with like some of your neighbors. And like again, I feel like I'm always like calling on the fact that people are, you know, identify as being like lonelier than ever in 2025. Like, here is a chance to like meet some of your neighbors and do something that is like meaningfully going to be like pushing back against these state forces that um, seem to loathe the people.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
even their own people. What's amazing is that the Trump doesn't
Yeah.
even like his own base.
You heard like, okay, with the ICE agents, like they were gonna offer like this huge bonus.
Right.
Because I mean they're hiring these like vigilante, like basically like LARPers, you know, types, like the live action role playing, don't know what they're getting themselves into, but they see like, oh, I could make like close to a living wage, you know, going and abducting people and like being a Nazi. You don't have to be very highly skilled at all either. Um, but yeah, I mean, even the government themselves don't have like, they're like offering these bonuses, and then it came out like a couple days later they had to like retract the email that they had sent out to all these agencies. Yeah,
Damn.
it's like not, it's not a high functioning government that we're dealing with, fortunately. Like the uh, I mean, the fascists, they're not all that well
They're not sending their best.
they are, they're not necessarily highly skilled, which, you know, is makes it all the more easy, like, you know, for us, you know, in the billions of dollars, it can do a lot, but when it is in the hands of people that are not very highly skilled, like that's where I'm like hanging on to some hope that, you know, like, okay, these people are not yeah.
Yeah, and
Uh,
people say like fuck no all the time to like, you know, being recruited into something like that. Like, you know, the ICE is kind of like the like, yeah, modern day Gestapo. Like, who wants to be a part of that? That's
right.
crazy. I was talking to this woman who was came to court the other day with her friend who she was kind of accompanying, and she was like, "Oh, you know, I just finished my like asylum process, and thankfully it was granted and stuff." And I was like, "That's great." And then she was like, "Look at this shit." And then she showed me her emails, and it was from the fucking like the Department of Homeland Security.
Oh
That
my
was just an
god.
email of just like job listings for fucking ICE
No
to this
way.
person
uh,
that literally just went through that process. And it was like,
wow.
she's like, I get these like every day. Like,
Yeah,
why
yeah,
would I
yeah.
do this? Isn't this crazy? And I was like,
Yeah.
that's like insane. Like, they recruit them like immediately or try to recruit because it
Damn.
just goes to show how like how desperate they are. You know, they need all these bonuses. They need all this
Right.
like crazy fascist
Right.
propaganda. They need to
During
recruit the most vulnerable people to actually like fill their ranks. It's like despicable.
Totally. Like there's I you know, unemployment is like, I guess at like a worse point than we've seen in many years according to the stats, which the stats like and where they're coming from, that's another discussion. I know a lot of people are out of jobs, and even at that, yeah, these are jobs that people with any kind of conscience are not trying to take, which is also, you know, like a somewhat of a place for hope. That said, yeah, no, I'm stoked that people are going out there on a like regular basis. Again, like it kind of bloomed from just being on Tuesdays, that people were showing up from like 8 to 4:30 ish,
Yep.
and now we have some coverage at 100 Montgomery. Again, it's is it Tuesday, Thursday, Friday?
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. So people can show up then, and the idea is just to expand further, and then to some of these other locations as well, where we know that ICE, like Home Depot, was mentioned. And I know they also have a location in San Francisco on Tahama. You have any word about like what happens at that location?
I mean, Tahama is basically just like the ankle monitor program for
Okay.
ICE. It's the privatized ankle monitor program for ICE. It's there. We haven't really heard about abductions happening there. I think
Yeah.
honestly because we resisted them happening there, right?
Right.
A few at the beginning of the summer, they I think were trying to abduct people there, and
Right.
people autonomously organized to shut that down. A
Hmm.
coalition of different organizations and community groups, just like what is happening at Hunter Montgomery, which is actually it was some of the inspiration for Hunter Montgomery. People saw that it worked there, and so they figured, okay, well, why couldn't this work at somewhere we know ICE is going to show up with some regularity?
Yeah,
Cool.
unfortunately, there's another, the 630 Sansom, where ICE does their processing of the people they abduct in the area. The abductions that happen there are internal; they're inside, and then they can just load up, their abductees into their vans internally and drive
Yeah,
off the premises with them. And unfortunately, don't know how to prevent that from happening, but they have also been violence there with protesters as well, trying to protesters who are trying to stop the vans at least.
yeah. Um, I think that because we can expect the expansion of ICE operations into our neighborhoods after October, or starting in October, we can look at what has worked in Los Angeles. There's a big opportunity to learn from what the LA Tenants Union has done. A lot of the initial rapid response to ICE abductions in keeping just individual neighborhoods safe was organized through the Los Angeles Tenants Union and other tenant organizing groups. And it makes sense. I mean, people who are organizing to be able to protect themselves from their landlords, especially in communities where people are living in big, huge apartment blocks, can also organize with each other to protect each other from ICE showing up at those same apartment buildings.
Yeah.
So I think that a good place for people to start, that has already been started actually. I know that Tank, the Tenants and Neighborhoods Council organization in the Bay Area, has begun working with their different members to try to figure out like what a rapid response network would look like for individual neighborhoods or in individual buildings. I think that another place to look is how much success an organization like Unión del Barrio has had. Um, Unión del Barrio has been organizing since the 80s to try to do actually cop watch, essentially. And they've had a lot of success over decades and generations doing cop watch in over policed neighborhoods. And so that just transitioned really nicely into doing ICE watch, right? They already had the infrastructure for that. And because they all these different community organizations had the infrastructure to defend themselves as working people, as immigrants, as racialized people in their neighborhoods, they were able to come together quickly to militantly resist ICE abduction, which just comes back to the fact that the only safe community is an organized community, right? The ways that we defend ourselves from our landlords are the same ways that we defend ourselves from the police, from ICE, from any antisocial crimes that might be happening in our communities. Uh, so yeah, we've got a lot to learn from what's happened in Los Angeles, and I think that we can draw some inspiration and courage from the fact that the Bay Area has always been a fighter for liberation internationally. Um, you know that we made a choice early on to wear keffiyehs because we want to highlight just our solidarity with the Palestinian resistance and how much we've learned from the Palestinian resistance. Um, yeah, we are not starting any of this new. Like we're there's a lot of struggles that are going on around the world and have gone on before us that we can learn from.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if this is like the first that people are showing up and like kind of putting their bodies out there to hopefully keep someone from getting abducted. Like this is like, yeah, I mean, you are connected to all of these other struggles that are going on right now and historically. Uh, I wanted to ask finally, like, you know, how people could follow you online if you are cool with being followed. Otherwise, yeah, like you would sort of, I guess, sign off with like any like pointers for people who want to come down to support.
Should we go around and maybe I'll give our
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leah, you want to go first?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, lefty Leah _in_SF. I also have a Substack where I write about 100 Montgomery as well as other government things at leftyleah.substack.com. And then what, like a final for people showing up, final message?
Sure, yeah.
Just, I think people are hesitant to do things like without an official seal of approval, whether it's from a politician or a nonprofit or anyone else. And unfortunately, you're not going to get that here. You're just not. Like, this is really the people doing this, protecting ourselves, protecting each other. So just don't wait any longer for that seal of approval. Listen to the people who have enough like courage and compassion and heart to show up and just provide community protective presence for our neighbors and prevent their abduction. Like, listen to us too. This works. We now have data that this works, and you can, do low risk standing on the sidewalk or more if you want to. And there are people around who will, talk to you about any concerns you have or any questions you have. And then another thing that I just like want to slip in is what's happening in San Francisco as far as, in the Tenderloin and in the Mission with the over policing and the horrible, wretched conditions people see on the sidewalks and stuff. Like, that is very much connected to what's happening at 100 Montgomery. Like in the Tenderloin, we have the Geo Group who is running like a halfway house, basically a prison there as well. That's contributing to these horrific conditions inside and outside of their facility. And so everything is connected, from Palestine to the Tenderloin to the financial districts, ICE locations and immigration court locations. Like, it really is all connected, and we really do all need to come together to strengthen our resistance.
Yeah, we're gonna have another episode about 111 Taylor, where Compton's cafeteria, like site of trans resistance, pre the Stonewall riots, happened here in San Francisco, and it's now a place that is managed by Geo Group, again, like the top ICE detention center private contractor in the US. Just, absurd.
Fucking Geo Group,
Yeah. Angelica, any place that people could find you, or?
I'm not part of any organizations. I have a lot of relationships to different formations and organizations, but I guess if you really want to find me on Instagram, you can, but I'm not going to share my Instagram.
All right.
But
no
what
pressure.
I'd like to say is that we are in a moment of a global resistance to fascism. And internationally, I think the compass for our struggles is Gaza. Everything that is done to Palestinians and Gazans right now in particular is being done or will be done to the working class as a whole, to those who do not own the means of production, right, who are not the billionaires. And standing in solidarity, not just in words but in action. I think that solidarity really is an action. with the Palestinian struggle is one of our main compasses. And locally, one of the ways that we can stand in solidarity with the Palestinian struggle is to actually resist ICE, because it is the same interests and literally some of the same people who are abducting people off the street here, who are also going and being private military contractors for companies like Boston Consulting Group over in Gaza. Like literally, we've identified some of them having Blackwater connections, who are also ICE agents here in San Francisco. Stay tuned for more about that. And in light of that reality, some of us are going to go to prison. Some of us are going to be hurt. Some of us might even be killed in the long struggle for freedom. I mean, we have already many martyrs, people who I am connected to through my community, through my Palestinian comrades in Palestine. And as Fred Hampton said, we've got to understand that you have to be willing to pay the price for peace. If you dare to struggle, you dare to win. And if you dare not struggle, then you don't deserve to win. And so let me say peace to you if you're willing to fight for it. I draw a lot of inspiration from that. And so, while it's a little anxiety-inducing to have Kristi Noem say my name on a press statement, also, fuck them. They're weak. They're focusing the repression on us because they've realized the ultimate truth, which is that we run the world, and we can shut things down whenever we organize ourselves enough to do so. So, yeah, I believe that we will win.
Wow, that was so powerful. Yeah, I think for people showing up and for anybody who's like on the fence about doing it, you should do it. There's so many folks out here from all sorts of walks of life. There are people here like who I just met, who are just neighbors that I met, that I mentioned it to them, and then they're like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll come out. Yeah, anybody can really come out and be a part of this, and it's a really great way to get activated, and the momentum is there, as we've been talking about, to be able to resist ICE. And this action is like super successful, in that it is a strong deterrent for ICE. So yeah, I think this is a moment for anybody. There was and I think that we're doing a lot of the work that ICE, we're doing a lot of the reverse work that ICE is doing. ICE and law enforcement as a whole, and ICE especially, so much of their work is in dehumanizing the people that they're oppressing. When we come out here and we support the immigrants very directly, and we meet them and get to know them and go up with them to court, or just give them resources and get to know them and make connections, like, it is a humanizing effort. It is exactly the reverse of what they do. And so there's so many ways to be a part of that. And yeah, I think that's really powerful. And if you want to find me, you should just come meet me here at court. Like I mentioned, we're out here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, from 8 a.m. when the court opens to 4:30 when it closes, and at 100 Montgomery. So yeah, come out here, meet me, talk to me. Yeah, if you come here from the show, then that means that you're a cool person. So come and say hi and say, oh, I heard about this way. So yeah, it would be cool to meet everybody. And also, I know a lot of people aren't unemployed like me. So if you have a job and like can't really show up like in the same way, like in those times, ask one of your friends to show up, and they can show up for you. And one thing that I can do, and some other people here can do, is at your workplace or in your community centers or whatever, start telling people about what's going on. Start telling people about even their basic rights against ICE as like a first defense. Telling people how to respond to like what happens if ICE does arrive, which in October, likely that they will start arriving. Thinking about the people in the Stanford hospital, right? That we're like, oh, we all don't want this, but it's like, what do we do? Like
Right.
our boss aren't saying anything. We can get trained we can train our own workplaces, and that's something that
Absolutely.
I know how to do, and that other people know how to do. Just get connected here at court, and we'll be able to do that. Yeah, it'll take all of us, and we'll save ourselves. Solo el pueblo, salva el pueblo.
Shout out
believe
to
that.
Palestinian Youth Movement, who recently published research that they found that Oakland is the second biggest hub for shipping weapons to the Israeli occupation in Palestine that is actively killing people. I know that PYM is organizing a campaign to stop that in Oakland, and again, this is another example of the people saving themselves. PYM and the Palestinian movement have decided that these politicians are not going to save us, and so we need to organize working people to stop the flow of weapons ourselves. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Until ICE is no longer. Yeah. Thank you all. I'm so happy that we are all living in the Bay to have people who are in the community that are who give a fuck. It is always gratifying to me, part of getting to meet people that are doing shit. And I'll see you out there at 100 Montgomery soon enough. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Right.
Thanks so much for covering this and having us. See you out there.
Thank you for listening to the show, and especially thank you to everyone who is contributing over at patreon.com/SadFrancisco. You're making it possible for Sad Francisco to exist. And if you're not already a member, think about joining. Again, it's patreon.com/SadFrancisco.